What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, cloud swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys are feeling good. We got Alan House. Good morning to you. Good morning to Albert, Andy, Bill, Brad, Christopher's in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning to Cindy. We got Darren. Good morning to you. Good morning to Doug, Joe, Kevin, Lucian, Marius, Matthew, Michael, Ray, Roberts in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning to Russ T. Flow Rocket with us. Good morning to Tim, Virginia. Good morning to you. All my people out in YouTube land. Leonard, good morning. Uh Leonard says morning, not good though. WTH with AMD. We'll get to that one. State of Lawn says good morning. Absolutely, absolutely. So we survive. Jerome Powell looks like a little bit of a pullback. Nothing too crazy. I was buying dips with calls throughout the day, as he was talking, because the news overall he cut the rates, gave the market what they wanted. It looks like they are pricing in a couple more cuts this year, so something else to look forward to in the market, just to just keep the narrative going. And ultimately, we were dipping pretty hard at one point, but essentially, and the play I made was I was buying calls when we got down to in the beginner room. We were talking about I think it was 57.12, something like that. I forget the exact price, but I was like, if we could pull back to there, I think we even mentioned it pre-market here. But I was like, if we could pull back to like 57.12, give me that little overextended, and we got down to that level. We did get a bounce. I was in there for 0 days, so as it started to push up into, I think it was like the VWAP, which is essentially right where we started to open before we got the news of the quarter point cut. I was out, so I didn't re-enter on that next move. So I wish I would have got in a little bit lower. Didn't happen. Took out some bigger time frames. Didn't happen. Either way, we get the cut. The market kind of like, and Jerome Powell was a little all over the place. He got asked maybe 6 times about is this just pressure from the government or from the White House, specifically Trump? And his answer obviously was no. Kind of a waste of time for questions. I mean, they asked the same question over and over again, thinking they would get some kind of different answer. But he did say at one point, like he was kind of pressured into the cut a little bit, but from the markets, not from the government. And then his reasoning didn't really make too much sense whatsoever. He was focusing a little bit. He said jobs or unemployment seems to be a little bit weaker than what he would like, but that's why they were making the rate cut. However, then later he said that it was from immigration. But then why would you cut the point? Because then you're still going to have deportations. You're still going to have an immigration problem. How does that quarter point actually affect the markets uh, or help the job market when that's not the root of the issue? So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Other than that, yeah, kind of a nice high wave candle. Obviously, a lot of volume coming in from yesterday. We are set to gap above the entire day and open up at all-time highs. Very, very strong for the markets. If we get a pullback, I'm looking for some kind of support. 660.30. This might be one day that does not pull back. I don't know. Uh, but that's where I'll look for support if we do. Otherwise, the first support, almost some tweezer tops up there. So if we could open up above 661.75, maybe that's a little bit of support, and that's it. My guess is there's probably some people that did buy the dip, maybe profitable, looking for some kind of a overnight bounce, and they got it. So maybe you see a little selling, but I, I don't I don't think this is one that really looks to fade too hard. We'll see what happens. Obviously, 2 days left of this week. Let's go to the weekly chart. How does the SPY look right now? Big indecision candle. But if we, that's from yesterday's close. As of today, it looks like they are deciding that this is just going to turn into another little hammer. So we'll see how this day closes. We'll see how tomorrow closes, and we'll get the full picture of that weekly. But pretty strong so far. Qs, and then to the higher point. I mean, there's no, I've got no targets up higher. Nothing. Uh, Qs also threw in a nice little hammer. Great volume. We also look like we are going to open to all-time highs. If we get a little pullback, or if we get a good pullback, Longer term support now probably 591.33. Otherwise, psychological levels probably somewhere at the close, right around this 592.95 ish, and then you got 592.59. But anybody shorting this thing, they're down. They might have to start bailing if their play was, and we did say this yesterday. If the play was to rocket this thing up for the next day or two, trap anybody who thought this market's coming down, forcing bears to now exit their positions, and then Friday or starting next week after tomorrow's monthly contracts end, that would be the play for the pullback. Just clobber as many people as possible first that was thinking, okay, we could get pullback on that. So far that's kind of playing out. We'll see if we get any follow through, but that is I mean, it's tough to even make that call at this point with the amount of volume, the candle, the gap, strength, everything. So we'll see what happens. Bitcoin, BTC, USD, also continuing to push a little bit. We were a little bit higher this morning. We started pulling back already. We've gotten right into that spot we've talked about a few times now, this 117, 838 zone, somewhere around there. And looks like we did reject that. So Bitcoin running into a little bit of a brick wall after we could get above that. And now that we've retested that once. Next spot longer term, I think a small resistance 118,707. And then I think got $119.27 would be your next bigger spot. Otherwise, again, high wave candle, good volume. Looking for support probably around, I think 116.70. So that's not too far away. And we'll see if Bitcoin can kind of hold in there for today. But it looks decent. Just ran into a little tiny resistance. Big news of the day, and this is going to be the answer, Leonard, for your AMD question. Intel, one of those days, very few rare times, not so much in general, but on Intel where you have to kind of scroll out on the chart. Absolutely monster gap. I think we're over 30% now. But big news. There's a lot of consolidation. We've been down in the zone since August of 2024, so over a year. Okay. Over a year of just shopping around in the zone. They need a catalyst. We had a catalyst back here before when Trump said that the US is going to start investing into Intel. So congratulations to anybody from the US. Technically, you're all up money on this trade, valuation wise. But the bigger news, the next catalyst was last or this morning, probably about 7:30 in the morning. You had an announcement that Nvidia was investing $5 billion into Intel to build out some of the data centers. I think their price that they were buying it at was the price they got it for was 20. I want to say it's 22.38, 23.38, somewhere in that zone. I think the 38 is correct. It's either 22, 23, 23.38, I think it was. But if I'm wrong on that price, I'm wrong on that price. You guys can look it up, but somewhere around the 22, 23 range. Other than that, now that builds out that little bit of a support, the floor. Obviously, a $5 billion investment is huge for Intel. And not only that, but you have the US government backing you, and now you have Nvidia backing you. Not a lot of volume on a daily chart to really limit where this thing goes. The next big spot for me is 34.15. The next big support probably into this $30 range, $30.50 range to the downside. So I think there's some room for some serious fluctuation in between those two ranges if we could start getting candles above, let's call it 35. The next little target, 37.65, and a bigger target takes us into like 43, 43. And still a lot of room to the higher side with some good news, some good catalyst. You have a lot of people in there who just, I mean, if you were shorting this thing, that you're getting absolutely murdered. Nvidia also is gapping up a little bit on the news. I don't know how crazy of a news story it is for Nvidia, where vice versa. I think Intel is the pure benefactor, but nice little kind of abandoned baby. If this gap does not close for today, we've been just kind of chopping in this area. $5 billion to Nvidia, not that crazy. Not that big of a not that big of an investment. $5 billion to Intel, that's huge. That is a monster. 23, 28. All right, yeah. All right. Somewhere in that zone. 23, 28. It's official. That was the buy price for Nvidia. So there's your floor for Nvidia, but there's some volume zones that could hold us up a little bit higher for Intel. I mean, other than that, where are we opening so far? We have the September 16th, so Tuesday's VPOC. That comes in at 175.14, so right ahead of resistance. Even though there's a gap and go, maybe we don't fully retest this 172.71, but I can see this coming down. Next little tiny support, 174.64, and then you got 174.18. If we can get above, let's go 175.10. If we get above that, next target for me would take us into this 177.36. But again, I don't think it's a huge move. Although Nvidia coming in at 23.28, and now all of a sudden you're at $32. That's a great move on $5 billion for Nvidia. So valuation of Nvidia actually does increase decent. Funny how a few months ago everyone was talking about how Intel has no hope, recovery left behind. Yep. Lucian, are you in those in the money calls that we took them out a while ago. So I have the in the money $15 calls for Intel, but they expire I think January of 2027. But I know a couple people were taking those out with me. No, not you. Okay. You were in with the SoFi call play, I think, which I think you might still be holding. I don't know. To answer Leonard's question, what about AMD on this news? Um, Not fantastic. No. AMD was touting for a while that they are not really competitors with Nvidia, that they're kind of working together. Well, when your friend just invests in your enemy, how close of a friend really are you? I don't know. So not great. Investors are not loving this one. Leonard, be careful on this one. Maybe look to protect yourself. AMD is going to act strange. I think you have room down to at least 146.59, so plenty of room to the downside. I'm not loving where this thing is opening yet. Again, the positive catalyst will go toward Nvidia, just because it's Nvidia. I don't think it's going to be a huge move, but Intel and then AMD kind of getting left a little bit in the dust on that deal. So, kind of negative sentiment. You are clearing every single green candle, recent green candle. You're opening below some VPOCs. Again, anybody that's tried to short AMD have it's been not easy, but I think they're going to look to close this gap. Maybe not fully today, but you have 146.47 would be my target to the downside. It is down a lot already. I think there's a point where we do buy AMD again. I'm completely out. I sold it at the like 181 zone, and then it kept going up a little higher. I was like, man, what am I doing? But now I'm a little bit happier. Other than that, and I still have some AMD in the long term, but that's I was buying that at $85, so I'm still doing okay on that one. Other than that, yeah, look for this 146.64. If I need a short for today, it's probably going to be the AMD. As long as we stay under there. If we start to bounce, your next spot to short would be 154.53. That's your next resistance. But anything really above this 151.55-ish, I probably don't want to really short it until you get back down below it. So we'll see on AMD. We got some other tickers coming in. Let me go scroll back so I try not to miss any of them. We got Palantir, PLTR. That one looks really interesting. You have a good hammer candle. Only thing with Palantir is you're still just jammed up right in front of this resistance. So that is a gap and go. That's a great looking hammer. You obviously got some volume on it. It's everything in theory that you probably want to see for a good gap and go. Let's see if this one has the follow through, but you have resistance from where we're opening up until 170.94. If we could start to clear that, that would look a lot better for Palantir. Next resistance, which if we could clear this 171 zone today, My target would take me into about 173.01, but that would look good longer term for Palantir. That this is a lot of consolidation. That just turned into your buy the dip opportunity on that breakout, and we look to go higher. So fundamentally or technically, still decent. Looks all good. All moving averages are stacked. Looks like we want to probably go higher from here, but that resistance for today tells me maybe we could wait a little bit lower for some kind of a pullback before just jumping in, unless we just break out of that 171 zone. Coinbase. I was buying some calls on Coinbase yesterday on that dip. I've been liking Coinbase. Day trading wise, they just clobber me every single time. I've not been able to figure it out. Um, one of these times I will. I'm gonna keep shooting my shot. But I was buying some calls when we were down at this 314 zone. I did buy some when we were at 320. So I'm in it. Pre-market didn't look as good. It's looking a little better now. So let's see if this 325.82 holds. But you will have resistance all the way up to, I guess, your next resistance, 327.32, and then I think we have a little bit. No, yep, that's my next big one. 327.32, and then the only one after that comes right at the high of yesterday's candle, 328.58. If we could get above that in a longer term sense, I do like it. Um, so a little bit of chop to deal with. Yeah, they're still bouncing around. Let's get this thing opening above 325.82. Otherwise, psychological level 332.39. This looks like a phenomenal, again, candle, decent volume. We just got to get out of it. We're still in this chop, and once we make the move, it will be probably fast and furious. My next target on this one takes me into 351.84. The way we talked about this one in the beginner room, I think this was on Tuesday, is if we could actually get this break, we get those closes above those VPOCs, I could see us getting to this 351. We get that pullback, something like this, and then final target up to this 382.18, but that's going to take some time. So I'm probably going to sell most of those calls if we could get to 351. I'll hold a few extra in case we just do a straight rampage into this 370 zone for Coinbase. But for today, still a little chop zone. We'll see where that one opens. The open is going to be very important on Coinbase for today. Upwork. Upwork, especially if Bitcoin needs another day or two to start breaking that resistance. Upwork, phenomenal looking gap. Not at all-time highs, not by any stretch of the imagination, but it looks good on a nice little gap up. Let me see if there's any key levels that I could find over here. Yeah, we're even gapping above some longer term pivots. You're even holding, look for support on a small pullback somewhere around $18.38, somewhere around there. Otherwise, high wave candle, something to that effect. Upwork is another one where the lower interest rates should benefit them. Let's see if they also had some news. There you go, $100 million buyback in Upwork stock follows strong quarter. So earnings have been decent for Upwork, pretty good. Looks like we've beat pretty much every single time. Can I find a miss? Yep. I got to scroll back to May of 2020 for the last miss. Everything else earning wise has been pretty good. Lots of buying into the close on this one. Phenomenal close spot. I'd like to tend to lean toward a pullback on this one, but it is a really, really good gap. If they give me some kind of high wave candle, this might be one that does push without a full retest after a gap like this, trapping some shorts. Let me do one more thing on this one. What is the what is the short float? I thought the short float was kind of high. Short float is 10%. That's not bad. Not a bad short float. This might not retrace too much. My biggest issue with this one would be if we just open and run and then I can't chase it after we push as soon as the bell rings. But if they could pause for a little bit, we might be able to get a good trade on that one. Hood, HOOD. Expiration was a month out on the. Uh, I'm like scrolling up and then down to see all the comments and comments and tickers, but So if I respond like 5 minutes late to a comment, but yeah, October 17th was all of the strikes on the coin. You got Hood because it does have that resistance. You got to get through it, and that's going to take a little bit of time, I think. Hood, we've got, or if you're talking Intel was January of 2027, which is like $15 calls deep in the money. Hood, we got a good gap up. I think this one has a little bit more potential for a fade on this one. This one is facing resistance around 120.68. Big resistance on this one. Yeah, both are pretty much in that same range. Maybe the higher end is 120.74. But good looking gap. I think this one probably goes higher from here today, though. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a dip, some kind of a pullback. I think buying the dip on this one today for a swing might make sense. The closer you get, I think to 117.15, the better. But I think this one has a little fade. The one that didn't look as fadish was PayPal. They secretly had news yesterday, a little different than Hood, but they had news yesterday during Jerome Powell's speech, or right before, very, very close to that time frame, where some traders picked up on it. Others, I think there's just other news just overshadowing everything. But they did partner with Google yesterday, saying that they're going to partner with Google Cloud, I believe. So good move on this one. I think now you have that catalyst built in. This is a retest gap. I'm kind of liking where this is opening. You still have one tiny resistance. If we could open or start to get above $70.32, or if we could get the close above $70.32, I think that's a really strong move for PayPal. Big retest gap from yesterday. We'll see if we pull back first. So maybe on a day trade, not as excited, but a very good gap nonetheless, and some catalyst that could push us out of this $70 range, which we've been just kind of struggling with for a little bit. For solar, um, then you got Crowd or Firm. Got a lot of tickers today. Joe wants to take a look at Oxy. For solar looks good. I wait for a pullback on this one. Inside day candle. I think if you could get a buy opportunity off of 211.57, if you get that pullback first. First solar, all these names, no stranger to those pullbacks before they run. So I think patiently waiting, setting some alerts for somewhere around 211.60, something like that, would be a decent spot to buy. You do have still a lot of room to the higher side, just into that next resistance, 218. So even from open, you have about $5 roughly. So if you get close to a $7 push, even better. So we'll see how this one wants to open. Looks good though. Looks like it probably wants continuation. You are also above that last red high wave candle. So maybe you could get a little extra push. You had some volume on that candle, high wave indecision from September 5th. We are opening above that as well. But watch that. However you get into this one, watch that 218.34. That's going to be a big level for First Solar CrowdStrike, CRWD. I don't think we can get to all of them today. We got CrowdStrike, a couple days of buying, another really good gap. I have to scroll out on this one. We're starting to take out a decent amount of volume at open. Let's flip this one. I don't know if we have weekly volume. We don't. Yeah. No weekly volume on that one. Not yet. But for the daily, any pullback, you really want to see 466.14 holds. That's a really good gap, good location. Next little target, 473.26, and then bigger target, 476.53. Again, a little element to for a retest, but I don't know how much of a retest we get on crowd today either. I don't know that we get that full on retest on a lot of things today. I'd be kind of shocked. I think we get a little bit of a dip, and then it looks to me like we just plow plow higher on a lot. A firm is that looks like continuation to me. We'll get this one up here. Very small high wave candle on a 3 minute, 5 minute, something like that. A full-on retest would take you into 89.31. I don't really like that if you get down there. A small pullback into $90.32. That would look interesting. But we are above every single VPOC on this one. I think this one quietly continues higher from here. Psychological level, which we've already been through, $92.05. Bigger target on this one takes you right to that $100 mark. Psychological resistance zone that we've already rejected as well. But a firm looks good to go higher from here as well. Let's go for SoFi. Getting above, yes, or still inside day barely. Again, we'll see what this one wants to open. Your first resistance on SoFi, 27.61. Small little pullback on this one. Maybe it takes you into 27.36. If you get to 27.13, I don't mind buying. I don't think it's my most fun trade buying it there because now we will have to get through the resistance, which is not too far away, and to the downside from there. If it breaks through, your stop is your next target, I guess, is 26.53. But stay strong on this one. Stay above 27.35. I'd be a lot more interested in buying it there with hopes of getting through this 27.61. But that will be a fairly good resistance on SoFi, especially after the move again that it's had. If we don't get these pullbacks in this market, it's just going to become more and more difficult to just every trade you feel you're just kind of chasing everything. Oxy, not the best look today. That candle from Tuesday was very impressive. The close was just out of resistance. We did try to break through it. That turned into a bull trap. Probably looking for a consolidation or maybe a fade back to eventually 46.63, potentially even into the lower end 46.10. But inside day for now, it just has some resistance above us. Looks like a small resting day. If for today you get above 47.38, I would make a case you could probably hit 47.74, and that would look better on a daily basis if you can start climbing through this 47.38. But that is a big move. I would think it probably needs a day or two to settle down and then go from there. We got Bull. Bull struggling still. Yep, I don't like it yet. I have a retest spot on this one around $12.41. So maybe off of that level, it would be decent. Otherwise, for the open, it is a gap and go, just inside day for today. Your resistance is $12.89. If we could close above it for today, okay, we have a shot. But really, probably get me above $13.01 for a close. And then I think once we take out this entire candle, looks a lot better. Otherwise, still looks a little bit to the weak side. Keep selling cover calls if you own positions. I do have cover calls. They expire October 17th, so no action for me. BTDR. That looks like it wants continuation. I've got really very little volume holding us back until a bigger target. Some volume, probably around 17.54, but then you got $20.32 would be your next target. So small pullback into this VPOC, which is around now, would be your first spot to look to buy this quick little dip and see if it wants to carry. If we start breaking through that, which we are, maybe get a $16.11 and a slightly longer term pullback. Other than that, that is the morning bell. A lot of tickers today, but everybody in YouTube land, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button if you've not done so already. You guys are incredible. I'll catch you guys.